Hey folks, BlackCross here, and I figured today I'd do something special for you guys, considering the fact that I wasn't able to get any time to play Fatal Frame 3, and I do apologize. I promise you sometime next year, probably before October, I will try my best to get into Fatal Frame 3 for Halloween, and if I can, I'll try to fit in at least one more Halloween-themed type game. Maybe I might play one of the Castlevania games, but we'll see what happens. But I figured this video I go ahead and talk about something that I don't normally talk about during this time of season. And that's my effects towards Halloween itself. I'm sure some of you probably have noticed I'm not big when it comes to celebrating Halloween. In fact, not to mean anything towards anyone, I think in terms of like favorite holidays, Halloween is one of my least favorites. Mostly because I consider it the one time a month where I actually get to watch like Halloween themed movies, like the older style monster movie madness type things, the occasional Halloween specials like Garfield's Halloween or It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown type Halloween thing. And normally no further beyond that. I know it seems weird to hear that from me, but it's true. I don't really celebrate Halloween that much. And there's a couple of reasons why I don't celebrate Halloween. Number one is that lately these days, or these last couple of years, Halloween have turned into a darker theme than what it's been in like the past 10-15 years for me. Like in the past 10-15 years, it was subtle, you know. You had your traditional Halloween theme, you had your traditional group of kids that go door to get candy and stuff like that. You know, no further than that. But these days, Halloween turned darker, like close to a point where it's almost satanic in a way. And I know that's not what people mean to be. They're just trying to go beyond that normal theme for Halloween, you know, grave tombs, zombies, and stuff like that. But honestly, the question is, when does it get to a point where it becomes mean? And I ask that question because years ago, and this is kind of a Halloween story, if you want to consider it that way, it's not scary, but to a point it was whenever I was at the age. I was probably, let's see, this happened probably right around my 4th grade year, so I want to say I was probably right around 10 years old at the time. We had a particular curricular activity class that the school had at our elementary school. It was either PE, art, or music. And at the time that I first started elementary school, the music teacher usually brought all of his music gear to each individual classroom and stuff like that. Well, later on through the year, he ended up actually attaining his own office space for his music instructions and stuff like that. So it became a theme to where anytime it was a holiday type theme, he would deck out that room to the best that he could. And I think it was probably a good thing, because that means that he was okay with any holiday to a certain degree, but at the same time he was cool with any holiday. But Halloween, how can I put this? He puts the scare into scary. Actually, he puts the in scarier. Let's put it that way. Right around my 4th grade year, I do want to say it was 4th grade, we actually went to the music room after it got decorated for Halloween. He usually decorates it like on the week of Halloween itself. Sometimes even the last 2 weeks of Halloween, depending on the calendar placement. To where that way every class that usually goes into it on that particular day gets to see it. But when we came across to the room itself, it had caution signs and warnings and everything like that. You know, kind of like the theme for you're entering a dangerous area. You know, that Halloween theme. And you couldn't see the windows, you know, because it was basically a two-door side, and it had a window on each side. But you couldn't see it. It was completely black and covered in webs. The little fake cobweb saying that they put up and stuff. But by the time we entered in the room, instead of it being, you know, the normal lights and everything like that, it was completely dark. Like, we're talking like pitch black dark. And the only lights that you could see was like the little flasher lights that was supposed to conduct a lightning effect, and the occasional red bulbs that you would see scattered throughout the entire band room. And when we got even deeper, it looked even creepier, because you saw like skeletons being hanged from the roof, or from the ceiling. You got to see like different type of body parts, you know, like hanging body parts. And it was at this point that I started to feel uncomfortable. Like, I actually felt uncomfortable when we started to enter in the room. But when we got to the main room itself, it was really unsettling. And apparently, the music teacher was hiding somewhere to where we couldn't see him. And he jumps out from behind, and basically from the red lighting that came out, and keep in mind, he was decked out in vampire gear, and his face is covered in blood and stuff like that. And here's the thing, I'm 10 years old, okay? 10 years old. I'm not used to this type of level of scaredy. When he jumps out and scares everybody, while everyone screams, I left the room. I ran back to the original classroom that I was in. I panicked. And I know it wasn't his intention, but there are times whenever you have to think to yourself, okay, maybe I overdid it. In this case, he did overdid it. To a point to where any time it got to be Halloween, I never once stepped foot in there. Like, as soon as I found out he was decked out for Halloween, I never stepped in it. And the teachers knew this. The teachers knew this, and they allowed me to stay there in the classroom with them and everything like that. So, yeah, for like, let's see, for like 3 years later, I never entered in that classroom. Until, this was back whenever my best friend TJ, me and TJ, we were friends since kindergarten. But there was a period in time where he wasn't at the same school that I was. He actually moved to a different school. I think he moved right around our 4th grade year, if not 3rd grade. I'll have to ask him on that one, but I know he transferred to a different school at the time. But then he came back right around my 6th or 7th grade year. No, actually he did come back during my 6th grade year, because that's whenever I ran into him again. And he had the same classroom that I did in our 7th grade year. And then our 8th grade year. And TJ convinced me to step into the room because, here's the thing, with our school system, our elementary school was kindergarten through 8. And then we had high school, which is 9 through 12. So just to give you an idea of how our school system works. It may seem weird to some, but to us, we're used to it anyway. But anyway, it was our 8th grade year, and it was going to be our last year being at that school before going to high school. So he was like, come on, it's the last year, you know? I mean, maybe it won't be as bad as what you remember whenever it first happened. And I was like, okay, I'll step in there. So long as you're there, I'll walk in there with you. And normally I wouldn't do this unless I was trustworthy of somebody. And TJ was that trustworthy of a person. So we stepped into that room. And I don't know if he found out that I was stepping in there, or if it was the fact that he wasn't very festive that year, but he wasn't extremely decked out like he had been that one year that I first stepped in there. And it wasn't as bad. It wasn't. In fact, it wasn't pitch black. He still had it decorated, but it wasn't as dark as whenever I first walked in there at that one year. It was actually a normal Halloween decked out theme. You know, spiders and bats, cobwebs, skeletons, and whatnot. Nothing beyond the normal Halloween theme. And at that point I was like, this is something that I don't mind. And nowadays, it doesn't bother me. But nowadays, I look at Halloween decoration that Walmart gets or any other store gets. I look at the Halloween decorations and I think to myself, I'm like, have we not entered in a realm where we went too far now? Like, we've really got to a point where we went too far. I mean, I understand putting multiple eyeballs into stuff like that. That's okay. You know, that's a traditional theme in Halloween candy and stuff like that. But when you put, like, a chopped off finger on top of a muffin, or a cupcake, rather, and the frosting is partially red to make the theme look like blood, I think we went a little beyond the normal theme of Halloween. To me, it is. So, I no longer celebrate Halloween the way everybody else does. I just celebrate it for traditional purposes. You know, just rewatching old monster movie type things, rewatching Halloween specials, that sort of thing. But never beyond that. And, again, maybe it's just me, but I feel like as if we kind of pushed it too far. I mean, with Christmas, yeah, some people get too holly-jolly and miffly. Valentine's, people get too lovey-dovey. But Halloween gets really dark. And you have to think to yourself, when do we get to a point where we have to say to ourselves, okay, we have reached to a point where we can't stand it. Let's lower down the bar for a moment because this is kind of getting serious. And I'm sure a lot of people will agree with me whenever I say that. I'm sure some people who love Halloween, there's a lot of people that I know that love Halloween. But personally, I don't care much for it. So, if you love it, give me a reason, or not so much a reason, but let me know your thoughts of how you celebrate Halloween. You know, how far do you go about in terms of celebrating Halloween? If you're like me and you're kind of meh about it, I'm sure the most of you probably will do is traditionally pull out a horror survivor game and play that through Halloween, or the month of Halloween, which is fine. Or maybe you're like me and you like the traditional monster movie madness, like Frankenstein, Dracula, the werewolf, Swamp Thing, and everything like that. You know, the traditional monster movies. I like them just as much as the next person. Anyway though, guys, I figure I'd go ahead and just do like a little interesting Halloween story, you know, just kind of give you behind the scenes about what I personally think about Halloween and how far I think maybe we might have overdone it. But that's just me. Anyway though, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. And if you're watching this on Halloween, then happy Halloween to you. And if you're not watching it on Halloween, then whatever holiday it's going to be. Probably Thanksgiving, probably Christmas, who knows. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Take care, guys.